What's up, gangsters? I'm back to take a look at some more Let's Talk movies. Basically just some more random recommendations based on the stuff that I recently got on DVD and Blu-ray. Although it's only Blu-ray here, and all these releases come from 4 different distribution companies. Nice, let's see what we have today. First, a bunch of Arrow video releases. They had another big sale. Ooh. And let's start with The Burning. A lot of you are probably already familiar with this one. It's one of the most beloved slasher flicks of the early 80s. It's a simple story, likable characters, awesome gore effects by Tom Savini. It's a classic. I've talked about it in some more detail during my original Video Nasty series, so you can always check that out. I even used one of the movie's most awesome scenes for my old short-lived series Classic Horror Scenes. Because, well, that scene is pretty classic. Next up, Eaten Alive, director Tobe Hooper's follow-up to his classic The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Another original Video Nasties that I've covered during that series. I always thought that this is a very fun, somewhat underappreciated little horror movie about a deranged hotel owner with a sight. Is that how you call it? A sight? And a crocodile. The somewhat surreal look, how deranged it gets at times. It's a lot of fun. Check out that video if you want to hear a little bit more about this movie. And here, yet another original Video Nasty, one of my all-time favorite horror movies, Lucio Fulci's The House by the Cemetery. I originally owned this on this Dutch, standard DVD, and then upgraded that one to the Blue Underground Blu-ray. So this is my 3rd edition, but it does come with unique extras, so worth it. It's an extremely atmospheric, gory horror flick that I don't know, I just love it so much. The cinematography, the music, mostly just the overall vibe. Ah man. Check out that Video Nasty's video if you want to hear more, or rather just go straight to the movie. It's awesome. In an earlier episode of Let's Talk Movies, I talked about Arrow Video's release of Reanimator, so of course I also had to pick up Bride of Reanimator, its sequel. While the original is still without a doubt my favorite out of the trilogy, Bride is actually a lot of fun too, something that I kinda forgot. The different special effects artists went bonkers on this one, so there's a lot of cool stuff going on here. This release, as kinda goes without saying for almost all Arrow releases, is pretty awesome and packed with extras. Oh, and now with Vestron's recent announcement of an upcoming Beyond Reanimator release, we can soon have the whole trilogy on Blu-ray. Nice. What's this? Another Video Nasty? Oh yes it is. The Witch That Came From the Sea. Great title. One of the movies I wasn't familiar with at all before I started my Video Nasty series, and also one of the movies that took me quite by surprise. Positively. Which resulted in me praising it quite a bit during that video, so when later Arrow announced a Blu-ray release of this movie, I was like, that's awesome. Well, originally part of their American Horror Project, I waited until it got released separately. Anyway, great movie. A bit of a psychological thriller that might start a little slow, but ends up being, worth checking out. Next up, Dark Water. One of the better known J-horror movies released in the wake of Ringu, by the same director actually, and one that also got the American remake treatment. It tells the story of a mother and daughter that move into a new apartment where some water-related scary stuff happens. Woo! It's definitely not as scary as some tend to make it out to be, but it is a well-crafted, somewhat calmly paced, nice horror thriller. Nothing mind-blowing per se in my opinion, but it's a decent watch. I got some more stuff. Get it? Oh man, I haven't seen this since forever, but I remember it being quite a lot of fun. Directed by Larry Cohen of It's Alive and Maniac Cop fame, I guess. This stuff is about the stuff, a new dessert that becomes super popular, but I mostly remember this to just be a lot of fun, with an almost family-friendly vibe to it. It's just, it's just very likable, all the while it also being a satire on, consumerism or perhaps capitalism. Definitely have to rewatch this one day. I mean, that's why I picked it up, right? Then we have Evil Ed. Funny story, actually. The second video I ever posted on my channel was about Evil Ed, and at one point the director found this video that I made, and he messaged me that he liked the video, even though he didn't understand it because it was Dutch, and that he wanted to include it in an upcoming release, like a special edition of Evil Ed. From what I understand, that release eventually fell through, but I'm very happy for the guy that this movie eventually got the Arrow Video 3-disc special edition treatment. That's awesome. The movie itself, despite having its shortcomings, it's still a lot of fun. It's about a film editor who goes berserk after editing one too many gory movies. In that original review that I did, I give it less credit than I feel it deserves. But then again, that video is literally 10 years old. I guess that's enough time to change your mind a bit. Yeah, fun movie, great release, good stuff. Life is okay sometimes. Frankenhooker, another movie I've covered on my channel way back in the Dutch-speaking days. From cult horror director Frank Henenlotter, who did a few other fun, low-budget horror movies. Frankenhooker tells the story of, well, the movie's called Frankenhooker. That should be convincing enough. It's stupid, ridiculous, but mostly a lot of fun. You can always check out that one video I did, but it is over 8 years old and it's in Dutch, so And finally, from Arrow Video, the brilliantly titled Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key. Doesn't that just roll off the tongue? It's a giallo by Sergio Martino, and the first movie in today's video that I have not seen yet. I've only seen one other Martino giallo. It's a Torso, which I quite liked. So, you know, I just wanted to get into some more of his giallos, namely this one, then of course, as well as All the Colors of the Dark, The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward, and The Case of the Scorpion's Tail. Any Sergio Martino fans out here? Then, 2 Blu-rays from Scorpion releasing, The Church and The Sect. Both directed by Michel Sauvi. I never know how to pronounce his name. Who directed another one of my all-time favorite movies, Della Morte dell'Amor, also known as Cemetery Man, but come on, if you can pick, let's call it Della Morte dell'Amor. I have still never seen either of these, so I figured it was finally time to pick them up. Unfortunately, they're both Region 1 locked, and well, my Region 3 Blu-ray player recently stopped working properly, so I can't really watch these yet, which kinda sucks. Besides that, I don't even really know too much about these movies, besides that they share a director with Della Morte dell'Amor. Any fans out here? Some people that can fill me in about the movies? Then, from Cult Epics, Death Laid an Egg. And with a title like that, this must be a giallo, right? Well, from what I understand, it might be based on an actual giallo novel, but the movie itself, it doesn't really feel like one. It's about a love triangle set around a poultry factory, and, well, stuff happens. I was strangely intrigued by this one. Probably helped a lot that the 2 leading ladies, they both look beautiful. Like, I love their outfits and the makeup. And, well, besides that, this one is probably mostly remembered for its somewhat trippy camera work and editing, which does give it a unique look. Not too interesting, but somewhat. Also from Cult Epics, it's In a Glass Cage, signed by the director. That's pretty cool, right? It was part of their Indiegogo campaign to fund their book, which goes in detail into their history and the releases over the years. And, you know, I funded it and I picked up a few perks, including the quite limited release of Death Laid an Egg, which we've talked about just now, as well as signed copies of Angst and, well, this one here, In a Glass Cage. This movie is pretty great. I've talked about it before during my Disturbing movie series, so you can always check out that video. Even though it's part 10 and I hate that one. It got so many views and I act like a fool. Still, the movie, it's great. It's like a grim, dark, like nihilistic movie. It's definitely worth checking out. Then, finally, 3 releases from Severin. First, Eaten Alive. And not the Toby Hoopy. Yeah, Toby Hoopy. Not the Toby Hooper movie, again, Jesus, but the Umberto Lenzi cannibal flick. I'll eventually cover this one during the Section 3 Video Nasty series, but I can already tell you that this one is, yeah, it's worth checking out if you like your Italian cannibal flick. I mean, it's one of the, what I consider, cannibal movies worth checking out. This release comes with a full-length documentary on cannibal queen Mimi Lai, which was rather interesting unto itself. It's a great release. And finally, 2 Laura Gemser movies Severin released recently, with first Emmanuelle and the Last Cannibals. Great title, once again. A little less worth checking out than Eaten Alive, I'd say, as this is one of the Joey D'Amato Emmanuelle movies where he decided to focus more on the eroticism rather than on the horror. So there's a lot of naked Laura Gemser, which is, you know, never that much of a problem, but not so much cannibal action. And it's kind of when I recently talked about Jess Franco's The Demons, I wouldn't have minded if the focus was a little more on the horror aspect. Still, if you like sleazy exploitation, it's worth a watch. And finally, the other Laura Gemser / Emmanuelle release, Violence in a Women's Prison, by Bruno Mattei, who, you know, he also wanted to join in the fun. Mostly a relatively routine, sleazy women in prison exploitation flick, but maybe not as out there as you'd hope. It's mostly a little dull, with some interesting scenes thrown in every now and then, you know, to spice things up. It's okay. They came together in a bundle that also included this little Laura Gemser pin and this t-shirt that I actually think is pretty awesome. So yeah, still a pretty fun deal. And that's all for today's Let's Talk Movies video. What a great title. Let's Talk Movies. That's what we're doing here. That's what we always do here. Right? Don't worry guys, after this just one more. You know, I know there's always like at least like a few people out there that enjoy these type of videos. If you do, please let me know. But so one more after that is you know, regular content once again. Don't worry guys, it'll all be fine. Cheers, have a nice day.